The galaxy was silent, but it had never been so loud with despair. Across countless star systems, the lumens had sent out their calls for help, their voices traveling through the void like desperate cries in a storm. They were an intelligent and peaceful race, soft-spoken, gentle, and fragile. Their worlds were beautiful, full of crystal cities, glowing forests, and rivers of liquid light. But beauty could not stop what was coming. The Zalvor were merciless. They came from the dark spaces between the stars, creatures of hunger and violence. Their ships were alive in ways the lumens could not understand, crawling with sharp edges, firing weapons that could melt mountains, devouring everything in their path. Entire colonies fell within weeks. Mothers clutched children and hid in the forests, only to be hunted down like prey. Cities burned, art, history, life, it all turned to ash. In their desperation, the lumens sent message after message to the great civilizations of the galaxy. "Help us," they cried. "We cannot survive alone. We have no armies. We have no weapons. We are begging. Please answer us." But the galaxy had its own rules. Politics, trade, and pride came before mercy. The Makari Council replied, "They did not prepare for danger. Let this be a lesson." The Tredak hegemony said, "Their suffering is unfortunate, but our fleets cannot risk Zalvor blood." And so, one by one, the stars turned cold. Every system that could have helped did nothing. The lumens felt abandoned. They had always trusted the galaxy. Now they wondered if the galaxy would let them die alone. And then a signal blinked on the horizon. A different kind of response. Earth. Humanity. The lumens had heard stories about humans. Young, unpredictable, wild, a species that few could understand, yet many had begun to fear. Humans had a strange way of surviving against impossible odds, fighting through challenges that would crush others. They were reckless, loud, and bold, and somehow they had decided that the plight of the lumens mattered. When the first human ships arrived, the lumens gasped. They were unlike any fleets the galaxy had ever seen, steel and fire alive with energy, bristling with weaponry that shimmered in the void. But that was not the worst of it or the best. From the ships emerged monsters, not the kind that terrified with evil, but the kind that could survive worlds that humans themselves called death worlds. Creatures bred to fight, trained to endure, adapted to pain. Some were enormous with armored hides and glowing eyes. Others were faster than any lumen could imagine, moving like shadows with teeth sharp enough to tear through Zalvor hulls. The lumens watched in disbelief as humans deployed their forces. Soldiers with strange weapons, glowing and humming with power, moved alongside beasts that could topple buildings with a single strike. The humans did not talk of diplomacy. They did not ask for permission. They only prepared for war. Yet there was a strange mercy in their eyes. Humans looked at the lumens not as helpless children, but as allies. "Stay safe," one human officer said through a translator. "We'll handle the monsters." And somehow hearing that simple promise brought tears to the lumens. For the first time, hope existed again. The first human attack on the Zalvor was terrifying. Ships dove into swarms of alien predators, monsters tearing through the Zalvor armor as if it were paper. The humans did not fear the creatures. They thrived in the chaos. Every strike, every roar of their monsters, every blast of their weapons was a message. We will not fail. The lumens clutched each other, watching as humans and their Deathworlder companions fought with a ferocity no one had thought possible. They had begged the stars for help, and the galaxy had ignored them. Yet here, in this darkness, humanity had answered. Not with calm fleets, not with polite words, but with monsters, with fire, and with unstoppable courage. As the first wave of Zalvor fell, burning into nothingness, the lumens began to understand. Humans were dangerous, terrifying, unpredictable, but they were also the only species that truly cared enough to act when everyone else had looked away. And in that moment, a fragile world far from Earth dared to dream again, because humanity had come. And when humans arrived, the universe would never be the same. The lumens had never seen war like this. Their gentle world, once filled with quiet music, glowing forests, and the soft hum of cities, trembled under the weight of humanity's arrival. The humans did not come to negotiate. They came to fight, and the Zalvor had no idea what was coming. The first strike was sudden. Human ships dove through the black of space like meteors. The fleet moved with terrifying precision. each vessel bristling with weapons that could tear a Zalvor ship in half with a single blast. But the humans did not fight from afar. They deployed creatures bred for war, massive armored beasts glowing with bioluminescent energy, their claws able to slice through metal. Smaller, faster monsters scuttled over the decks of the alien invaders, tearing engines and hulls with terrifying speed. The lumens watched from their hiding stations, unable to believe their eyes. "What are they?" whispered one young lumen, voice trembling. "Monsters. Soldiers? Gods?" No word could describe what they saw. The humans fought as if the very essence of life flowed in their veins like fire. Every human soldier carried weapons that hummed with energy and precision. Every strike was calculated, every move deadly. And yet the humans were not cruel. They were controlled, brutal, but careful enough not to harm the lumens. On one of the colonies, the Zalvor landed, roaring and shrieking. Their claws tore into buildings, their tongues lashing like whips, consuming everything in their path. The lumens ran, but the humans were faster. From the horizon, a massive creature emerged, taller than the tallest lumen tower, with eyes glowing like molten fire. Its armored hide reflected the starlight as it charged at the Zalvor. With a single swipe, it crushed dozens of the alien invaders, sending their bodies flying. The lumens gasped. They had asked the stars for help, and humanity had answered, not with polite armies, but with monsters born for war. And they were winning. Yet the humans did not pause to celebrate. Every victory was a step in a larger plan. Ships dropped soldiers directly onto Zalvor-infested worlds, and every landing was a storm of fire, claws, and strategy. The Zalvor had never faced anything like this. They were strong, yes, but slow to adapt. Unprepared for creatures that could survive planets of poison, storms, and radiation, the very challenges humans themselves had thrived in on death worlds. Amid the chaos, the lumens began to understand the humans' power. They were not just fighters. They were survivors. Every monster, every weapon, every soldier was shaped by experience and danger. They had faced extinction before, and had learned to turn fear into strength. The Zalvor may have been terrifying to others, but to humanity, they were just another challenge to overcome. The lumens, who had hidden for weeks in the shadows, now dared to venture closer. They saw humans coordinating with monsters, their movements almost like a single organism. A human officer shouted commands, and a creature leapt, smashing through alien defenses. Another soldier fired a weapon that turned the very air into fire. It was chaos, but organized chaos, and every move was deadly. One lumen child clinging to her mother whispered, "They are beautiful." Her mother looked at her, tears in her eyes. Beautiful? How could monsters and fire be beautiful? But the child was right. There was a strange, terrifying beauty in the humans' courage, in the monsters' loyalty, in the way they faced impossible odds and refused to back down. Hours passed like minutes, and slowly the tide of battle turned. The Zalvor retreated, leaving shattered worlds behind. The humans did not pursue them blindly. They secured the colonies, healed the wounded, and made sure the lumens were safe. And when the lumens approached them, trembling and amazed, the humans said simply, "You're safe now. Rest. We will finish this." The lumens could hardly believe it. Every other race in the galaxy had turned away, but humanity had risked everything for them. They had begged the stars for help and received only silence. Until now. And the lumens began to understand a truth they had never imagined. Humans were not just warriors. They were monsters. Yes, but monsters of mercy, courage, and unstoppable will. That night, under a sky torn by distant fires, the lumens gathered together. They watched the humans and their monstrous companions standing guard, not sleeping, not resting, only waiting for the next strike. They whispered to one another, "We asked the stars," and only humanity answered, "With monsters." And for the first time in weeks, they slept without fear. The galaxy had abandoned them. Humanity had not, and that was only the beginning, the Lu. Men's had seen the humans' power, but they did not yet understand it. Humanity did not fight merely to survive. They fought to dominate the impossible, to confront death itself, and to protect those who could not fight. After the first victories, the humans gathered their forces near the Lumen colonies, preparing for the next step, the heart of Zalvor territory. The lumens watched from the safety of their crystal towers as humans organized their forces. Monsters of every kind moved with purpose. Towering beasts with armor like black steel, swift predators that could tear through metal, and human soldiers who had learned to trust these creatures as partners, not weapons. The humans did not speak much to the lumens, but the way they moved, the precision of their actions was a lesson in itself. Strategy was written in every roar, every leap, every flash of energy from their weapons. Captain Jara, a human officer with scars crisscrossing her face, addressed her squad. The Zalvor think they are untouchable. They are not. Every world they destroy makes them weaker. Every colony they conquer leaves them overconfident. We will go in, we will hit their heart, and we will remind them why no species should ever prey on the weak. The lumens shivered at her words. Weak? They had thought of themselves as fragile, incapable, but humans called them survivors. The lumens had begged the stars, but humans had seen their courage even in fear, and now humans were about to take the fight directly to the monsters that had terrorized them. The journey into Zalvor space was a test of endurance. Humans had trained on worlds that would have killed most beings instantly. Toxic skies, storms of acid rain, gravity that could crush bone, and predators that could devour a human in a single bite. They had adapted, survived, and thrived. Their monsters mirrored their resilience. Each step into the Zalvor territory was an example of lethal creativity. Traps set for alien patrols, scouts sent on monstrous wings, and devastating ambushes that left the enemy confused and terrified. The lumens followed, hidden in small ships, witnessing the terrifying ballet of destruction. On one barren moon, a pack of Zalvor warriors attacked. The humans did not retreat. They released a swarm of predators, creatures that could sense the Zalvor by heat, sound, and vibration. The Zalvor fought with rage, but the predators moved faster, struck harder, and never stopped. Human soldiers followed, targeting the alien command structures. Within hours, the Zalvor forces were shattered, leaving their own colonies defenseless. One lumen scientist, Chiron, whispered, They are not just soldiers, they are perfect predators." His voice trembled with awe. "And they fight for us?" "Yes," replied a human lieutenant, her armor scorched from battle. "We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. That is what it means to survive together." As they approached the central Zalvor hive, the humans revealed another side of their monsters. Some were not just weapons, they were engineers, creatures that could manipulate terrain, rebuild collapsed structures, and even create barriers to protect allies. Humanity had turned monsters into allies in every sense, fierce fighters, protectors, and companions. The lumens had never imagined such a thing. Their own kind could never fight like this, could never survive like this. When the Zalvor realized the humans were coming for the heart of their empire, they panicked. Ships scrambled, creatures swarmed defensive positions, and their leaders sent a message: surrender or be annihilated. But humans did not negotiate. They moved like living storms, tearing through defenses and striking with precision and ferocity. One of the lumens, a young girl named Sira, could barely watch. Her world had been burning for weeks, her family lost, her home destroyed. Yet as she saw the humans and their monsters fight, she felt something new: hope. The humans were monsters themselves, terrifying and beautiful, and they had chosen to protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Sira whispered, "They are humanity, and they are ours." Hours turned into days and the hive fell. Zalvor leaders were captured, their fleets destroyed, their colonies liberated. Humans and their monsters stood victorious, yet they did not boast. They secured survivors, healed the wounded, and ensured no lumen would suffer from hunger, fear, or pain again. That night, as the lumens gathered around the human campfires, they realized something. Humanity had not only saved them, they had shown them the meaning of courage, strength, and sacrifice. They had begged the stars for help and the galaxy had failed. But humanity had answered, not with polite fleets or careful diplomacy, but with monsters who could survive the impossible, fight the impossible, and inspire hope in the hopeless. Sira stared at a massive human warrior standing guard beside a towering beast. The firelight reflected in their eyes, human and monster alike. "We asked for help," she said softly. "And they came, with monsters, and they will never leave us alone again." The galaxy had abandoned the lumens, but humanity had not. And as the humans prepared for the next strike, the lumens began to understand that these monsters, these warriors of death worlds, were more than allies, they were saviors. The war was far from over, but for the first time the lumens dared to believe in a future, and that future had human monsters at its heart. Victory tasted sweet, but it was only a beginning. Humanity and their monstrous companions had shattered the Zalvor colonies, liberated the Lumen worlds, and captured the alien leaders. For the Lumens, it was the first time in weeks that fear had eased from their hearts. Yet deep in the darkness of the void, the Zalvor were far from defeated. They were furious, wounded, and desperate, and they would strike back. The warning came late at night when the Lumens were trying to sleep. A tremor ran through the colony as distant sirens wailed. Karen, the scientist, ran to the observation decks. "They're coming," he whispered, voice trembling. Massive Zalvor warships blotted out the stars, their dark hulls pulsing with alien energy. Smaller creatures swarmed behind them, climbing onto the hulls of human ships like insects. The humans did not panic. They had expected this. They had always expected it. Captain Yara's voice echoed over the loudspeakers. "Hold your positions. We fight here. We fight now. Protect the Lumens at all costs. Nothing will pass." Her calm iron voice steadied even the most terrified Lumen observers. Humans and their monsters moved like living shields. Massive beasts roared, their claws carving trenches in the ground. Smaller predators dashed between human ranks, intercepting Zalvor warriors with lethal precision. The Lumens watched, awestruck. Humanity's monsters were not mindless. They were soldiers. They adapted, anticipated, and even protected the humans. One massive beast swung its tail, knocking a dozen Zalvor into the air while a human soldier leapt atop its back, firing a weapon that tore through alien armor. Another monster roared, a sound so deep it made the very ground tremble, scattering smaller Zalvor in all directions. And yet, the humans did not flinch. Every strike was precise, every movement coordinated. The Zalvor were powerful, but they were not prepared for the deadly combination of human strategy and monstrous strength. Sira, the young Lumen girl, clutched her mother's hand. Her eyes were wide, tears streaking her glowing cheeks. They never stop. They are unstoppable," she whispered. Her mother nodded, unable to speak. Humanity was terrifying, beautiful, fierce, protective. Everything the galaxy had not expected from a young, chaotic species from a small, blue planet. Hours passed, and the battle raged. Ships exploded in fiery clouds. Ground trembled under the weight of monsters. The Zalvor screamed in rage, but it was useless. Every wave they sent was met with another human trap, another monstrous counterattack. Humans moved like a tide of fire, relentless and fearless. Monsters leapt from rooftops, from ships, from the shadows, and struck with deadly accuracy. Then came the worst moment. A massive Zalvor creature, larger than any building on the colony, broke through the defenses. Its claws sliced through armor, its roar shattered windows, and its glowing eyes burned with hatred. The Lumens froze. Death seemed inevitable, but humanity had a plan. Captain Jara signaled, and from the shadows 2 massive monsters emerged. One was taller than the alien, armored like a mountain glowing with molten veins. The other was faster than the eye could follow, striking repeatedly, confusing the Zalvor with a barrage of blows. Together, humans and monsters engaged the creature, baiting it, overwhelming it, until it finally fell in a deafening crash. The Lumens erupted in cheers, but Captain Jara did not smile. She only turned to her team and said, "Keep moving. There are more coming. We do not stop until every Lumen is safe and every Zalvor threat is ended." For the Lumens, the night stretched on forever. They had begged the stars for help, and the galaxy had turned away. Yet humanity had come, bringing monsters that could endure death itself and strike fear into the hearts of the universe's deadliest predators. They were not just soldiers. They were saviors. Sira watched a human soldier lift a small Lumen child from the rubble, carrying her to safety atop a massive armored beast. She felt a warmth in her chest that she had not felt in weeks. "They are protecting us," she said softly. "Even with all the monsters, they care about us." Captain Jara addressed the survivors over the loudspeakers. "We fight for those who cannot fight. We fight for those who are weak. That is what humanity does, and we will not fail, not here, not ever," the Lumens whispered among themselves. Humanity had arrived like monsters from another world, terrifying and unstoppable, but they fought for life. They had begged the stars, and only humans had answered. And in the dark night, amidst the fire and chaos, the Lumens realized that their world, their lives, and their hope now rested in the hands of these humans and their monsters. The Zalvor retreated that night, leaving devastation behind, but humanity stood firm. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. Still, the Lumens finally understood. In humanity's monsters, in their courage and ruthlessness lay a promise. They would not abandon the helpless. They would not stop until victory was theirs. And for the first time, the Lumens believed the impossible. Humanity could win. Humanity would protect them. Humanity was the answer the galaxy had refused to give. Part 5. The Counteroffensive. The Lumens had survived the Zalvor's strike, but humanity knew that waiting would only give the enemy time to recover. Captain Jara gathered her team beneath the alien stars, their monstrous companions towering beside them. "We go to their worlds now," she said. "We hit the heart. We make them remember what it means to face humanity." The Lumens could hardly comprehend it. To them, the galaxy had always been cruel, indifferent, and distant. Yet here were humans, young, reckless, fearless, preparing to march straight into the lair of a species that had terrified them for centuries. And they were not alone. Their monsters moved beside them with a strange grace, muscles rippling, eyes glowing, and every movement radiating deadly precision. The first strike landed on a world shrouded in darkness, a wasteland of jagged rocks and acidic storms. Zalvor forces had gathered, confident that no one could survive their deadly defenses. They were wrong. Humans moved like living shadows. Monsters surged first, crashing through alien barricades with unimaginable strength. One enormous beast, larger than any Zalvor dreadnought, leapt from cliff to cliff, smashing alien artillery with fists that could crush stone. Another, smaller but faster, darted through the battlefield, slashing and tearing with claws that could pierce the hardest armor. And humans? They coordinated every strike, firing weapons that glowed with energy, leaping from the backs of monsters and striking with impossible timing. The Zalvor fought with rage and fear. Their alien minds could not predict the humans' strategies, their monsters' adaptations, or the coordination that seemed almost supernatural. For every attack, humans had a counter. For every ambush, humans had a trap. Slowly, the tides of battle shifted. One Lumen, hiding behind a ruined tower, whispered to her companion, "They are unstoppable." Her friend nodded, her eyes wide. "We begged the stars, and humanity answered with monsters, and they are saving us all." Amid the chaos, Captain Jara spotted a massive Zalvor warlord commanding the battlefield. Its claws were massive, its armor unbreakable by ordinary weapons, and its roar shook the air. She nodded to her second in command. "Take it down. We do this together." From the shadows, a monstrous predator launched itself at the warlord, its tail smashing against the alien's armor, buying time for human soldiers to flank it. A second beast struck from above, claws piercing thick alien hide, while Captain Jara herself leapt onto the warlord's back, firing her energy weapon with deadly accuracy. The Lumens watched in awe as humans and monsters worked together like one mind, overwhelming a creature that had terrified entire civilizations. Within moments, the warlord fell. The battle continued for hours. Waves of Zalvor poured out from hidden bunkers, but humanity and their monsters adapted with terrifying speed. Humans set traps that could collapse entire alien structures. Monsters tore through enemy ranks, leaving devastation in their wake. Every victory, every monster's roar, every human shout was a message. Humanity would not stop, and the weak would always be protected. During a brief lull, the Lumens approached Captain Jara. "Why do you risk so much for us?" asked one elder. His voice trembled, filled with awe and disbelief. Captain Jara looked at the humans and their monsters standing guard, ready to continue the fight at any moment. "Because no one should face death alone," she said simply. "You begged the stars and the galaxy ignored you. We won't. We never leave the helpless behind." The Lumens felt something stir in their hearts, a mixture of relief, hope, and gratitude so deep it almost overwhelmed them. Humanity had turned the impossible into reality. Monsters born for war had become guardians. Humans, fearless and relentless, had become saviors. And for the first time, the Lumens believed that the galaxy could be different. Not cold and indifferent, but full of courage, sacrifice, and protection. As night fell over the Zalvor world, fires burning in the distance, the humans and their monsters regrouped. Captain Jara addressed her team. "Tomorrow we take the capital. We end this. Remember, every Lumen alive, every innocent life saved is why we fight. And no force in this galaxy can stop humanity when we fight for the helpless." The lumens watched silently, their hearts swelling with awe. Humanity had not only come when others refused. They had come with monsters with courage and with the kind of relentless strength that could change worlds. And in that moment, under alien stars, the lumens understood something profound. The galaxy had refused them hope. But humanity had given them more than hope. They had given them a future. The war was far from over. Zalvor forces still controlled many worlds. But humanity, with their monstrous allies, had proven a truth that would echo across the stars. When the helpless cry for aid, only humanity answers. And when they do, the monsters they bring will make the universe tremble. For the lumens that night, hope burned brighter than any fire. Humanity was coming, and they would not fail. The Zalvor stronghold loomed ahead, a jagged fortress of black spires and swirling energy, pulsing like a wounded heart. Humanity had fought across planets through waves of Zalvor warriors, and now they faced the heart of the enemy's empire. The lumens watched from safe distances, trembling, hearts pounding. Never had they imagined such courage, such determination. Captain Jara stood at the forefront, her armored figure silhouetted against the alien sky. Beside her, monstrous allies growled, muscles coiling, eyes glowing. "This is the end," she said. "Every lumen alive, every world saved, every life we protect is why we fight. No Zalvor can survive our resolve. Move out." The humans surged forward. Monsters led the charge, crushing barriers, tearing down gates, and tearing through alien defenses. Humans followed, firing energy weapons, leaping from the beasts' backs, moving with deadly precision. The lumens watched in awe as the battlefield became a storm of fire, claws, and courage. The Zalvor fought with desperation. They unleashed every weapon, every creature, every trick they had. The sky burned with energy blasts. The ground shook with monstrous footsteps, and the air was filled with screams of alien rage. Yet humanity did not flinch. Their monsters adapted, protected the humans, and struck back with force that seemed impossible. One lumen child, hiding behind rubble, whispered to her mother, "They are not afraid of death. They are gods." Her mother pressed her hands to her mouth, tears streaming. Humanity had begged nothing from the stars, they acted. And every strike, every roar of their monsters, every blast of their weapons proved it. Captain Jara spotted the Zalvor War Council deep within the fortress. Massive creatures, larger than any she had fought before, coordinated attacks. She turned to her second-in-command. "We split. You take the flank. I'll lead the monsters straight to the council. We end this tonight." The humans moved like a storm. Massive armored beasts tore through walls. Smaller predators darted between alien ranks, and humans leapt, fired, and struck with unstoppable determination. The lumens, watching from the edges, could hardly breathe. Every moment felt both terrifying and beautiful. Humanity was destruction and salvation, chaos and order all in one. In the heart of the fortress, Captain Jara faced the Zalvor leaders. One massive creature roared, swinging its claws with deadly power. But the monsters leapt first, one crashing into its chest, another biting its arm, while humans fired their weapons with precision. Jara climbed onto the beast's back, eyes locked on the alien leader. With a final, desperate strike, the creature fell, shaking the ground as it collapsed. The lumens could hardly believe what they were seeing. Humans and their monsters had faced the impossible and triumphed. Every Zalvor stronghold on this world fell within hours, and the remaining forces fled, terrified, knowing that the humans' reach was unstoppable. As the battle ended, silence fell. Fires burned across the Zalvor fortress, but no humans were defeated. Monsters panted, exhausted but alive, their loyalty unwavering. Captain Jara turned to her team. "We fought for the helpless. We fought for those abandoned. And we won. Humanity does not abandon those who cry for help." The lumens slowly approached, tears in their eyes. They had begged the galaxy for aid, but only humanity had answered. Not with fleets of polite diplomacy, not with careful words, but with monsters' courage and unbreakable resolve. Sira, the young lumen girl, stepped forward and whispered, "We asked the stars." And only humanity came, with monsters, and they saved us. Her voice trembled with awe and gratitude. Every lumen around her nodded, feeling the truth in her words. Captain Jara placed a hand on the head of a massive armored beast, its glowing eyes meeting hers. "We are not monsters for the sake of terror," she said softly. We fight so the helpless can survive. That is humanity. That is why we answer when no one else does. For the lumens, hope had returned. Their worlds were safe, their people alive, and their hearts full of admiration for the species that had come when all others refused. Humanity had turned the impossible into reality. Monsters and humans together had faced death and emerged victorious. That night, the lumens gathered under the alien stars, watching the humans and their monstrous allies patrol the liberated worlds. The fires of battle still burned faintly in the distance, but they no longer brought fear. They brought proof. Proof that the galaxy could be different. Proof that the helpless were not abandoned. Proof that humanity could stand against any darkness and win. The galaxy had ignored their cries, but humanity had not. And in the hearts of the lumens, a new truth had taken root. When the weak call for help, the universe may hesitate, but humanity will come. And it will come with monsters. The battle was over. The Zalvor were defeated. Their strongholds burned, their armies scattered, and their reign of terror ended. Yet on the liberated worlds, the humans did not cheer. They did not celebrate their victory with pomp or pride. They moved among the survivors, tending the wounded, clearing rubble, and comforting those who had spent weeks in terror. The lumens could hardly believe it. They had begged the stars for help, and while others had ignored them, humanity had come, not only to fight, but to save. Humans walked among the ruins, their monstrous allies towering beside them, protecting, guiding, and helping in ways that no one else could. Every roar, every flash of glowing eyes, every careful movement of the monsters was a promise kept. The helpless would not be left behind. Sira, the young lumen girl, ran through the ruined streets, her hands shaking. She saw humans carrying children, monsters cradling the wounded with surprising gentleness, and Captain Jara standing tall among them all. Sira approached the captain, her voice trembling. You saved us. You came when no one else did. But why? Why risk so much for us? Captain Jara knelt, looking into Sira's wide, shining eyes. Because someone had to answer when the weak called. Because we fight so that those who cannot defend themselves can survive. Humanity does not turn away. That is what we are. Tears ran down Sira's cheeks. She had seen her home destroyed, her family lost, her world nearly wiped out. But now she saw hope, life, and protection. She looked at the massive monsters resting nearby, their glowing eyes dimming as they calmed.
They are
not just monsters, she whispered. They are guardians. They are humanity. The lumens gathered around the humans and their monstrous allies. Elders, children, and survivors touched the hands and hides of those who had saved them. For weeks they had trembled in fear, praying silently to the stars. And now, the humans were there, strong, fearless, and compassionate. Every roar, every leap, every battle move had been for them. Captain Jara addressed the gathered lumens. We fight for life. We fight for those who cannot fight. We will stay as long as needed to make sure you are safe. And when we leave, you will know how strong you truly are. Humanity fights not for glory, not for reward, but because the helpless deserve a chance. That is why we answered. The lumens stared, awestruck. They had begged the stars, and every other civilization had refused. Humanity had come, not with empty promises, but with monsters, fire, and relentless courage. And through it all, they had protected the weak, healed the wounded, and given hope where none had existed. Sira ran to a massive armored beast, her small hands resting on its glowing scales. The creature bent its massive head to her, letting her stroke it gently. She whispered, "Thank you for saving us." The creature's glowing eyes softened. Behind her, Captain Jara nodded, and Sira understood. The monsters and humans had become something more than soldiers. They were guardians, teachers, and friends. In the days that followed, humans rebuilt what they could. They left supplies, healing technology, and strategies so the lumens could defend themselves if danger ever returned. And as they prepared to leave, the lumens felt a mixture of pride, gratitude, and awe. Humanity had come from a small blue world, answered a desperate call, and changed the fate of an entire species. One lumen elder, tears streaking her glowing cheeks, addressed her people. We begged the stars. We were abandoned, but humanity came. They came with monsters, with courage, and with hearts stronger than any star. We are alive because they did not turn away. Never forget this. Sira looked to the sky where human ships waited, their monsters standing guard. We will never forget, she said softly. They are humanity, and they are our saviors. Captain Jara stood one last time, looking over the lumens' worlds. "Remember this," she said to her team. "When someone cries for help, you answer. No one else can decide who deserves it, only we can. And we always answer." With that, the humans and their monstrous allies departed, streaking across the stars like a blazing comet. The lumens watched them go, hearts full, hope restored, and their lives forever changed. They had begged the stars for help, but the galaxy had refused. Humanity had not. Humanity had arrived with monsters, and through them the weak had survived. And for the lumens and for all who would hear the story, one truth remained. When the helpless call, only humanity answers. And when they do, monsters rise alongside them, carrying courage, strength, and hope across the stars. The galaxy had ignored their cries, but humanity had kept its promise, and that promise would never be forgotten.